In this video, my buddy Barry is going to go over what equipment and chemicals you need to start pressure washing gas stations, as well as how you can start offering the service even if you don't have any money, just like him whenever he got started. Lastly, Barry's going to get into where you can find the best chemical for this service, as well as some safety precautions to take when mixing it, so you're going to want to stick around until the end to get that information. But if you're looking to start a pressure washing business and you're not sure what chemicals to use, how to mix them, how to clean every surface on a residential job site, property protection, or how to set up your equipment, check out the first link in the comment section and the description. That'll be a link to the How to Wash course, the #1 selling pressure washing training in the industry. Also, this video is going to be a clip from the full podcast that I did with Barry, so if you want to see the entire video on how to make $1,000 a day pressure washing gas stations, click the second link in the comment section and the description. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. As far as equipment we need to get started with, pressure washing gas stations, I say equipment. Can we get started with like some lower end equipment? If we had like a 3.5 gallon minute washer, if it was cold water, things of that nature?
Sure. Yeah, so let's start at the very beginning. So what I did was I actually rented equipment. In the very beginning, I rented equipment, so I was able to buy something. So instead of going out and getting a loan, I was always against going in debt. So it was always very much kind of like Aaron's lean and mean kind of type thing. Before I even heard of lean and mean, we were kind of doing that out here. So basically it was like we would rent equipment and we would get the job done and we would take the profit off of that and put back into the business. So we basically just started with a small, very, very used, very old hot water pressure washer that worked part of the time. We kept repairing it. And then from that, we saved up enough money to buy our first hot water pressure washer trailer. And it was just, we weren't even soft washing. I don't think that was even kind of a thing that was really popular at the time. It's mostly downstreaming, but we rented the equipment and we worked on a lot of equipment. There was a lot of times, we survived off, just tape and trying to figure out how to fix things on the fly and getting up there and getting the job done and making sure the customers are taken care of with what we have.
What do they call it, Barry? I think they refer to it as like bubble gum and Scotch tape or something like that.
I was going to say something like that. I said, I better not. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Right,
so early on, you rented your equipment, you leveraged the money that you made from the jobs that you rented in order to reinvest back into your business. So you're saying, Barry, that you can get started cleaning gas stations with pretty much whatever you have at this point in time, right?
Yes, I would say number one, locate a place that rents equipment and then try to get the contract, because you don't want to get the contract and they can't find the equipment. But you necessarily don't want to go all in on the equipment and can't get the work. So it's like a bar stool. There's all different legs. All the legs got to be in place for it to support you. So with that being said, I would say locate a place. You can rent a pressure washer trailer for a couple $100 a day, and you can make, maybe $1,000 a day. You got $800 profit, or maybe $700 when you take away your gas and all that stuff. So it's pretty good. And, you can do $700 profit a day and then pay for your expenses and your rental. Then you're doing good. After a few weeks, I'd say maybe 2 months tops, you can pay cash for your own trailer. That's not even buying used. That's buying a new one if you do it 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
Okay. Now, if somebody's going to clean these gas stations very proficiently, do you recommend that they have a hot water system versus cold water?
Well, a lot of people think that when you're cleaning up diesel and gasoline and oil, basically the chemicals, what's important. But when you're cleaning up the grease, which they will want you to do the dumpster pads and the sidewalks, yes, hot water is very, very important, in my opinion, of doing that and cleaning up food and beverage and stuff like that. Bubble gum, especially in the parking lot and the sidewalks like that.
Barry, what kind of chemicals do we need if we want to start cleaning some of these gas stations? Do you have any good chemicals you use?
Yes, I use sodium hydroxide in 9 times out of 10 of my, kind of like Gold Assassin, that's sodium hydroxide based. A lot of your sodium hydroxides, detergents, I use basically a Blue Dawn and sodium hydroxide, and I mix it with cold water only. I'll put the water in first, and then I'll add the sodium hydroxide, about a cup, about 16 ounces to every gallon of water. So maybe 4 to 5 cups on a really good mix per 5 gallon. You only mix it with cold water, and you put the water in first because it can get really hot. You want to be very careful. Always wear your protection. Always do your due diligence, and always be safe and know what you're doing when you're mixing these chemicals. But that's the chemical that I go to 9 times out of 10, unless I'm doing restoration and things like that. Just cleaning up spills, it always does an amazing job. It's very important. I stress the importance of knowing your chemicals, because you don't want any accidents to happen. You just do your due diligence, and that's with any chemical. So when I always promote my videos, or I push my videos, or I tell people about it, the number one thing is please be safe, know what you're working with, and you'll get amazing results. Because I can get I pay $100 for a 50-pound bag, and I can do multiple locations with that. So there's really good profit margins in that.
One of the things I don't think people realize as much is, using chemicals is a great advantage because you let the chemicals work for you. But in a certain sense, you almost need to be a chemist to some degree because, like, I know people that have mixed the wrong chemicals together and have had like terrible chemical reactions. Have you ever had anything like that before, Barry?
Yes, yes. If you see right here on my right here, that's from a burn from sodium hydroxide. So uh, you you can get the chemicals pre-made, and I always recommend like trying out. I tried out a bunch of chemicals, and I still use chemicals I buy from people. But this, if I have a really hard job to do, I'll always go to mixing it myself. But I've been doing it for almost 10 years, so I did a lot of research. And my father-in-law is a chemist, so I was able to tap into that little bit of knowledge.
Then before we kind of transition, is there any, obviously you're taking into consideration your PPE with regards to using some of
That's,
these. Is there anything in particular, eyewear, anything
yes,
else you like to use?
I actually have a plastic. I should have brought it. A plastic whole face mask, it's like a hockey mask. I do that so any splashes won't get on me. I always wear long sleeve gloves. Always wear a mask, and when I'm mixing it, I'm never right above it because it puts off like a fume. So I'll mix it in an open area. Always cold water. Always cold water first, and then you add a little. Always add a little bit of Blue Dawn and the sodium hydroxide to it.
Beautiful. Okay, sweet. I'm glad we covered that just because I think
Yeah.
oftentimes we talk about the chemicals that are great, but we don't necessarily talk about some of the, the adverse side effects of using some of these chemicals as well.
Yes, be very careful. And another question you're probably going to get is where to get that from. And I always say Google your local chemical supplier because most of the pressure washer stores do have it and they do carry it. They don't promote it as much because a lot of their chemicals has that in it and they want to promote their chemicals. So
Right.
so check into that.